The glory of Jael. Introduction. Jael was a woman in the Bible who helped the Israelites subdue Jabin, the Canaanite king, by single-handedly killing the commander of his army, Sisera. Her story is found in Judges chapter 4, verses 17 through 24. At that time, Deborah was the ruling judge in Israel. She commanded Barak to fight against Jabin's army in the valley of Jezreel along the Kishon River. He refused to go unless Deborah accompanied him. Deborah agreed to go, but told Barak that the road on which you are going will not lead to your glory. Judges 4:9. She elaborated in saying that Barak would not have the honor of killing Sisera. Instead, a woman would be given that honor. And the story begins. Who is Jael in the Bible? Jael is one of those women of the Bible we don't get a lot of details about or background on. All we know for sure, besides the account of her story, is that she's a Bedouin and the wife of Eber the Kenite. The name Jael means mountain goat. The story setting is a time when Israel was at war with the Canaanites. Judges 4 tells us that God sold Israel into the hands of Jabin, king of Canaan, because the Israelites were doing what was evil in his sight. During this time, a prophetess named Deborah was judge over Israel, and people went to her in matters of justice. Judges 4:6 tells us that she summoned a man named Barak, who God chose to be the leader of Israel's army against Jabin's forces. Sisera was the commander of the Canaanite army. He was a powerful and cruel man who oppressed the Israelites for 20 years. Deborah went on to tell Barak to gather his men for battle, and Barak responded this way: "If you will go with me, I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go." Judges 4:8. Act 2. A woman to get the glory. Deborah agrees to go, but tells Barak that because of the way he responded to God's call, there would be no glory for him in Sisera's defeat. In fact, God was going to sell Sisera into the hand of a woman instead and give her the glory, and that woman would be Jael. Shortly after Deborah and Barak's exchange, Barak's army met Sisera in the battle in which Sisera would be delivered into the hands of the Israelites. Sisera's army was quickly losing, so in one last-ditch effort to save his life, Sisera got out of his chariot and fled on foot. Right to the tent of Jael. Jael saw Sisera and came out to meet him. "Turn aside, my lord," she said to him. "Do not be afraid." And Sisera had no reason to be. Jael's people were at peace with his. Why shouldn't he take refuge in the tent of a woman uninvolved in the war? No one would expect it, and no one would find him there. Jael went on to show Sisera every possible kindness. She covered him with a rug to hide and comfort him. When he asked for water, she gave him milk, possibly to make him more sleepy. And Sisera drifted off to sleep. Hey, everybody. Get ready for an innovative journey. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the bomb. The easiest way to make a quality podcast in 10 minutes or less with no prior experience. Please let me explain. It is free. It costs you nothing. It allows you to take creativity to new depths and heights. The creation tools are easy to use for recording, editing directly from your phone, tablet, or computer. Sponsors are eagerly awaiting to put money in your pockets. Cha-ching. This is a potential new level of income instantly added to your household. Position yourself today to start making money free of charge. Anchor is a one-stop pod shop. Everything you need is here. So I encourage you to climb aboard. Your mandatory call to action is download the app from Play Store, free Anchor app, and go to anchor.fm, anchor.fm to get started. Again, download the free Anchor app, go to anchor.fm to get started. Either one of those. Let's make money together. Peace out. Act 3. Jael's violent victory. Jael saw her opportunity to act and seized it. Judges chapter 4, verses 21 through 22 tells us this. But Jael, the wife of Eber, took a tent peg and took a hammer in her hand. Then she went softly to him and drove the peg into his temple until it went down into the ground while he was lying fast asleep from weariness. So he died. And behold, as Barak was pursuing Sisera, Jael went out to meet him and said to him, "Come, and I will show you the man whom you are seeking." So he went into her tent, and there lay Sisera dead, with the tent peg in his temple. The war wasn't won by this one deed, but this was the beginning of the end of the Canaanites' reign over Israel. Act 4. There is victory in saying yes to God. So what can we learn from this courageous woman's story? Number 1, act on the opportunities God puts in front of you. Jael's actions did not make sense in the moment. To take a refugee into her tent, show him hospitality, and make him feel safe, and then kill him in an act of gruesome treachery. What is most important is that when the time came to make the decision, she didn't hesitate. Soon Sisera would be awake again, and she took the opportunity to do what God was asking her to do. She had to ignore all the fear, all the what ifs. When the Holy Spirit prompts us to act, we usually don't have a long time to think. Situations are ever changing in this life, and opportunities pass by quickly. That is why we need to decide in our hearts that when the time comes, we will say yes to God. Number 2, use the tools God has given to you. Jael, under the circumstances, had no better weapon than the tent peg. She likely had extensive experience putting up tents with tent pegs, and so she was skilled with this tool. She used the resources given to her in this situation by God. She didn't waste a moment thinking, "Oh, if I only had a sword." She simply took up the tools at hand and did what was being asked of her. God equips his people for the work he puts in front of them. He gives us certain skills and gifts for a reason, and we should always be on the lookout for ways to use them. We can trust him to give us competence. Now that we are sufficient of ourselves to think anything as of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of God, who also hath made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 5 through 6. In closing,